Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. In the last episode we came here to Woodfall Temple, the source of the kind of corruption of Woodfall, and we've started to work our way through it. We got the map and the compass. This episode we're going to be getting the dungeon item. Yes, it's a Zelda game, that's a thing. And we're going to be proceeding further into the depths of the temple. I'm moving that block out of the way, and so this here, once again, because we've come back through into this room, everything has respawned. That includes this skull tower that was in the ceiling. Oh, Paul, okay, jump attack. Not great against them, apparently. Can I kill two birds with one stone? I can! Wonderful. Well, literally kill a spider and 3 moths with 1 stone, if we're being a little more specific. But we've got a couple of things to do in this room now. With that out of the way, we want to firstly slap on the old Deku mask. And you'll notice up ahead here is a beehive. If we hit that beehive with a shot... Oh, it's probably too far away and missed. There we go. It falls down, revealing a great fairy, stray fairy. And I don't know where she's gone, but with the mask, should hopefully pull it over towards us. Wow, this is problematic. Oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to walk around, haven't I, and lure it. I guess it just literally comes as the crow flies towards you. Wonderful. There we go. Now you'll finally notice the hair has stopped shimmering and falls flat. It doesn't quite fall flat, but it stopped shimmering because we have got all the stray fairies in this room. It'll shimmer if there's still one to get, and it'll pull any loose ones towards you. So one in like chests or something obviously won't be pulled towards you. What we need to do now is bring the fire upstairs, because of these stairs that we hadn't really seen before. There is another torch at the top. Now we simply need to burn that webbing over there, which is... There we go. It's just a case of bringing the flames over there, and bam, there we go. Right, I'm actually just going to nip back the way. And you notice when I finish using a Deku stick, I swing my sword, which puts the Deku stick away without it being destroyed, even though you've been like setting it on fire repeatedly. Why does everything just give me single rupees in this game, I swear? But yes, that's it's a very nice trick for just not running out of Deku sticks, is to just put them away at the end, and you'll never really actually use them up from fire, which is real nice. Now we're at the very height of the temple, and...
Be careful, Doctor. I sense a lot of evil here.
Time for some spooky enemies. These things are black bows. Just calm down and attack it. Look, there are just a lot of them, okay? These things also slightly freaked me out as a kid. And basically, all of Woodfall Temple in the N64 version looked like this, in terms of its light. It was a very dark temple, which made it both spooky, but also just fucking difficult, because you couldn't see where the shit you were going. There's a fair few black bows to kill around this room. Specifically, there's 4 torches, and each torch has 2 of them at its base. They'll only really be activated by you getting close to it, and as you'll have noticed, Deku Link's spin attack is probably the most useful way of taking them out. What we need to do is light torches around this room, but if we do that before we've killed all the black bows, things get irritating, because they'll home in on you when you're carrying a torch, and ruin your day, basically. And I can hear music, which means there's another one somewhere. You I've already killed. No, apparently I had to kill him again. Cool. So that gives us a stick, which is always nice, and opens up a chest at the back here, which gets... another stray fairy. Wonderful. Right, let's transform back. And now we can light up the room properly. So there's 1 torch there, 2nd torch there, and a 3rd torch over here. And that opens the way through. This dungeon, while it seems a little complicated, is actually fairly linear. What I want to do here is actually hop straight down, not down there! Ooh! That was very close. Anyway, there's a couple of dragonflies around, which I'm going to try and kill if they come too close to me. But for now, you notice there's a stray fairy over here, and it's in a weird... Let's Deku up for these guys. Yes, you'll notice it's in a kind of weird bubble. I'm trying to avoid being pushed down that hole, because then you do fall down to the room below, which is irritating to say the least. Oh, it's about to be dawn of the 2nd day. But you'll notice if I were to put the Great Fairy Mask on here, nothing happens. It reacts to it, but it can't draw it towards me, because the bubble blocks it. you need to break the bubble and for them to come towards you. The reality is very few Great Fairies are actually like free enough to just float towards you in that way. Most will need to be freed in some way. The Great Fairy's mask is useful for pulling them towards you, but is actually more useful for just telling you when they are in a room or not. Obviously, if you're following me, I'm going to go through all of them, so that's not strictly necessary. Right, with both of those dragonflies out, this room is now a lot more dealable with, which isn't a phrase. We're going to hear some bells in the background for a while, and then it's going to say, Dawn of the Second Day, but it's not going to do the full zooming out thing. It doesn't when you're in a dungeon. You'll see. Once again, these are like the platforms above the Deku Palace that only start moving once you are on them, so generally right. There you go, morning of the second day, 48 hours remain, so the full day cycle is something like an hour and a half to 2 hours in real time, and then if you slow time down, it's about 3.5 hours. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, it's interesting to me, people often express frustration with this game, that they're like, oh, it's so annoying to get towards the end of a dungeon, but I have to, like, abandon it due to running out of time. It's like, that's never happened to me, because if you're just clever with just using the Song of Inverted Time and time management, it just doesn't really come up. Anyway, this switch here is pretty important. We're too light to weigh it down as a Deku, but as a human... That always felt weird to me. Like, it should... I feel like it should just make them, like, drop down from the ceiling rather than them go... and appear. Anyway, she said we got a better view down there. And then there's an ashes in the centre of that shrine. Can't really do anything with that for now, but we will soon. Now we need to head over here to a room we should recognise. It's this kind of flower-based room, but right way behind us here is another beehive. Can you imagine what's going to be in it when we shoot it down? 10th Stray Fairy, is that? 9th. Hopefully we've not missed one. Let's find out. Anyway, we want to go through this door here for one of the temple's 2 mini-bosses, which is quite surprising for the first dungeon. So this is an enemy that was only very briefly in Ocarina of Time, only in the Gerudo training grounds. This is a Dynalfoss. Use targeting methods while defending, and watch out for its fiery breath. Like a lot of very sword-based enemies, the main way to fight it is jump attack, but it's very much capable of doing jump attacks as well, and it's quite dodgy. Oh fuck, I'm just gonna wail him. Wow, he's... I don't remember him being this dodgy. What the fuck? Am I an idiot? What the... Why is nothing landing? Ah! Oh, that landed. Fuck's sake. There we go, got him. Maybe I just have to thrust. Maybe jump attacks don't work on him for whatever reason. Ah, fire! I like how the entire room ends up, like, goes red when he does his fire attack. That is fairly cool. Oh, I guess he's just fairly weak to thrust attacks. That was strange. Now, as you can probably imagine, you get a... reward for beating the first mini-boss. And this is, of course, the dungeon item, which is... the hero's bow. I don't know why we don't have our bow from Ocarina of Time. It's still us. I suppose you could use that as a child, could you? So, yes, hold the button to draw an arrow, and then release to shoot. So this is one of a number of items that was, like, locked to adult Link in Majora's Mask and in Ocarina of Time, but, as you can imagine in this game, there is no adult Link. Young Link can use everything, which is quite nice. What do we use it for? We can shoot, amongst other things, eye statues. Oh, not even eye statues, eye plates, and I even missed shooting it anyway. That does a couple of things. That starts that moving, which gets us another kind of shortcut back up to this upper layer when needed, and also allows us to cross over to the north side of this room. Because you'll notice, especially if you look down at the map, you'll see, ooh, there is another door over there. And then you immediately, it's very bizarre, get straight onto what I consider to be the second mini-boss of the dungeon. It's like... even some of the more extreme dungeons in Ocarina of Time never had, like, 2 mini-bosses, yet they slap it with you straight away here. Yeah, I really like the depth on those kind of carvings on the wall. It feels... They've made this place look very interesting, compared to being pretty bland in the first one. Anyway, time for this freak. So this is a Gecko, and it's pretty angry. It's pretty weak, too. It shouldn't be making really shouldn't be making a fool of you. Tattle is just a lot more of a... She's a lot crueler than Navi was, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. She's got a bit more sass to her, certainly. Anyway, Gecko is relatively easy to fight. You literally just wail on it in its first phase. This is when it gets a bit more mad. So you want to go into your Deku mode here, and remember, we've already fought snappers, and we know we fight them by shooting ourselves up from underneath them while they're on top of us. So wait for it to go on top of you, and then there you go. Ignore the snapper at this point, it's just a ruse. What you want to do is find the Gecko and wait for him to stop moving on the ceiling. At that point, shoot him with your bow, and that's how you really do damage to the Gecko. He'll then get back onto the snapper, at which point we get back into our hole, and you can see how this process goes. And 3, 2, 1, wallop! There we go. And let's bring that up once again. 3, 2, 1, shoot! There we go. Ridiculous boss. But this is technically the first appearance of Gecko. They were like a weird, not even mini-boss, they were just a strange enemy in the Legend Temple in, in Twilight Princess, but this is actually where they first came from. And they are mildly interesting for one reason that you will see as we defeat it. I believe he's gone up onto that wall there he has, and bam! So when you defeat him, he turns into a regular frog. And I'll discuss the significance of that in quite some time, but just remember that frog for now. I think we can get some useful shit out of these, and grab, there's a special chest here. Yes, you've got the boss key, so now you can enter the chamber where the boss lurks. Wonderful, we're making good progress through this dungeon. As you can see, there's only really one room we haven't been to. If I look at the map, yes, that kind of top chamber is about it. It's a relatively small temple, this one is like the first dungeon of a game, always is. Though, as I've said before, and will say again, ooh, look at that purple lighting, that's very nice. This game isn't really about the dungeons. Anyway, let's head back to the central chamber. So here, from on top of this switch, as Tattle pointed out, we got a clear shot through here to that brazier in the middle here. And you'll notice, I say clear shot for obvious reasons. If you shoot through a torch, your arrow will set on fire. Now that's activated the shrine, which has two functions. Number one is it's a platform, and number two is also that it's started to purify the waters of the temple. So most of the poison water in other places in the temple has now gone, which is fantastic. Few things to do in here briefly. We need to hop onto the fucking thing, and 3, 2, 1, there we go! No, I cocked it. Oh, bad. And there we go. Now, prepare yourself for one of the most infuriating parts of the dungeon. What we need to do is hit that torch with a flaming arrow, which we need to shoot something like there. You've got to be spot on with the timing, and the trick is, I would say, on these first few shots, like there, all you want to do is really get the height right, and then it's just about aiming left and right so you're on the right part of the spin cycle. I think there, need to be a bit more right than I was. The height, I think, is looking pretty good. Fortunately, it gives you 30 arrows in your quiver, and boy, will you kind of use them. A bit more to the right and perhaps a little more up. Well, it actually looks like I hit it there. And whoomph! Nope, a bit more to the left. Ah, okay, that was perfect timing. I just need to aim up a bit. So, let's just cut to me doing this, I suppose. There we go, I actually did it on the next shot. You'll just have to trust there was no editing magic there. So that actually opens up the way forward into that final room, but we're not quite done in this one yet. We need to Deku up. And if we use this flower, then we can hover around the side here, and you will notice there is a little switch. That ability to look down so you can tell where you're actually going to land as Deku Link is so much more useful than on the original version. You just had to look at the shadow and kind of hope there was a shadow. And there often wasn't, because fuck you. Anyway, that opens up a chest over there. Oh, don't dive there. Oh, God. That shouldn't have worked. He did like a face-first dive onto that platform and just turned it into a roll. But the reality is that would have cracked his face in half. Either way, this chest here has a stray fairy in it. Worth pointing out. Fuck it, I'm just actually going to get the ladders up from here. No point in using the spinamajig unless I have to. What I was going to say is it's worth pointing out. None of the dungeons have anything like heart pieces in them. The only thing that's gatherable in dungeons is stray fairies, which all add up to something at the end of every dungeon. Dungeon. Oh, I had a bit of voice crack there. In fairness, I have been recording for 3 hours and 20 minutes at this point. So, a couple of things to do here. Firstly, killing dragonflies is now much easier and more fun now that we have a bow and arrow. Oh, look at that. Number 2, bow and arrows can pop those fairy bubbles, which now means once you've popped it with that, you can just bring it towards you with the fairy mask. There we go. So that's our 12th, so we've got 3 more. Are there 3 in this room? I think there actually might be. Otherwise, we're going to have to do some fun searching. Anyway, there's various skulltulas around that will just make your life more irritating, because basically we've got to fanny around with Deku flowers, and that's far easier when that nonsense is out of the way. Anyway, with that done, we want to head down to the middle... to you too, Link. And we might as well get, while we're here, some of that finance in the middle. And where do I need to go? I think it's up to the side. Yeah, there we go. So you can start seeing where the fairies are. There are literally, I think, 3 more in this room. They're just slightly well hidden. There's all that stuff you saw up there with the switches and fire and stuff like that, and we'll get around to that. Don't worry, viewer. I haven't forgotten about it. If we just grab up here, then we can just get this dude straight off the bat. There we go. And then I believe there's just another one further up the side. Ow, crap my head on that. Oh, there it is, yep. They really do actually throw quite a few stray fairies at you right here. And then the third one's just over there, wonderful. Might actually be able to get that one over with just a... with a shot, which would be very handy. Let's transform back into human. Yeah, easy. Whoomph! Oh no. Whoomph! There we go. And let's draw him over. Obviously that little jingle means it's working. Sorry, I got a bit... Yeah, we go. All the stray fairies. Quickly, take them to the fellow fairies of the same colour. You will notice, and as ever with this game, this is important. What am I looking for? This one here. There we go. You will notice stray fairies are not on the visualizer. I've always shown the reward for stray fairies underneath the heart containers on the visualizer is up there, but stray fairies themselves aren't. If you have to travel back in time to the first day for any reason, you will lose any stray fairies you've got in the dungeon. If I went back now, for example, I would take my bow and arrow, I would take the dungeon map, compass, and big key. But any progress you've made in the dungeon goes. So any work towards like unlocking the purifier in the middle of the dungeon, that's gone. Any small keys go. Any rooms you've changed in any way go. So that's why do be very aware of your time before going into a dungeon, and either make sure you're on the first day or you've got inverted time active, or both, quite frankly, because you'll need it. Either way, we've got all of the stray fairies, we've been in every room, and we've got the big key, so let's head through and fight the boss, which has been made far easier on the 3DS version. Masked Jungle Warrior Odolwa. This guy's voice creeps me out. Everything creeped me out when I was a kid. The eye on the back of his head looks pretty suspicious. I wonder if there's some way of getting to it. So he shouts things at you. And yeah, just the look of him and the sound of him freaked me out when I was a kid. And in the original game, it's a really hard boss fight, because it's what I consider, like, I use the term occasionally, like a burly fight. That basically it's just like, you can deal him damage, but he'll deal you damage. And you just kind of get up close and just like constantly wail on him, but he'll damage you too. Whereas in this version, fly over, drop a nut on his head, and then transform back, and then his eye is here. So all the bosses, none of them had it in the original game, but all of them now have an eye somewhere that indicates their weak point. They've all been made a lot potentially easier in that way. I'm going to swap those two around, just because then I can activate my Deku mask without needing to use my hands. I can just use the buttons that are already on the controller. But yeah, the chance of him actually hitting you are very low, because you spend half the battle in the air, and he just... Oh, he's doing his nasty thing. Yeah, he just stares at you while you're in the air, and it's just... It's bizarre. I think... Oh, here we go. He's doing the fucking nonsense insects, isn't he? So these things are actually not even tackleable, and I don't think you can kill them with the spin attack. You just have to mince through them as regular Link. And this is basically the only way the fucker can actually hurt you in this version. I mean, like, you'd see him, he does that slash at you, and that slash fucking hurts, but it just so rarely connects, because you can spend half the time hiding in Deku flowers or in the air, And literally, he looks around there, and then you're in the air, and he just stares at you, which is creepy as fuck, but doesn't make him particularly an effective boss. There we go. So now's another chance. I've noticed I'm doing jump attacks. It does a bit more damage. Might be able to get him in 2 cycles. Nope, not quite. Oh, he's right here. But yeah, once again, he's just like, where's he gone? I go up, drop one on his head. Oh, he's fucked off. But that's the thing, like, his shit is all just about dodging you. He just doesn't... He went from being a very offensive enemy to a very defensive enemy, and I think... Well, I think his original version was a lot harder. They've gone too far the other way, because this will pretty much do him in. So in true Zelda style, we get 2 things from defeating the boss. We get a heart container. These are not on the visualizer, because what we're about to get is on the visualizer. We get his mask is over there. All I will say about this next scene is what we're about to hear is... You don't really appreciate it in its full glory now, but what we're about to hear is probably my it's certainly in contention for my favourite single piece of video game music. For not only how it sounds, but there's various versions of it throughout the game, and for the weight it carries because of my love of this game. So bear that in mind. We'll hear it a couple of times, don't worry. But yes, we got Adolwa's remains. Put that on the visualizer. In doing so, you freed the innocent spirit that was imprisoned within this dark mask.
What's that? Wait, listen. It seems to be saying something. Could that crying be its way of trying to teach us some sort of melody? Don't just stand there, get your instrument. Could this be the song?
So, this is the official name of this piece. It's an Ocarina piece, but it's also the bit in the background here. One of the best things about this game, the Oath to Order. You learned the Oath to Order.
Call us. That's what it's saying.